I think 2 or 3 years finish volume 1, and then volume 3 another 2 or 3 years after that. So it's still a ways away. Everything, by the way, Med Kellum here in Miami, on the first day of research, when I go into the history of Miami, they had 2 things on Med. One is a photograph, and one is a document, but the document was just the phone
Directory?
book of Miami. So he's like almost a ghost in a way for all that the ink that was printed on this ship, massive, San Francisco, Honolulu, New York, and covering in Miami. But his time, he's kind of like a ghost in early days of Miami. Now we're starting to find certain things, but to flesh them out, you got to go deeper and go around that and figure out. For example, he ran the docks at Royal Palm. We know that for sure. Well, what did that entail? You have to research that, etc. He may or not have been the manager of the Long Key Fishing Camp, arguably the most offshoot luxury resort from the Royal Palm Hotel. Kind of secluded, but we don't know if that really happened. So there's some things that have to be verified and fleshed out to tell that story. Because remember, I'm not writing a fiction. This is real, So I don't want to just conjecture on things. I like to nail it down. And the third book's super complicated. A lot of things are being juggled in a very short amount of time. In fact, so much so that when they get off the ship to the time a couple of years later where he gets divorced, unbelievable amount of movement is happening in land and dramas and divorces and the kids starting life, the depression or the stock exchange falling. All this is impacting his world. So there is a lot of, but it takes some time to really nail it down and make sure it's it. Because he's not a Henry Flagler issue that's been studied for years. This is the first time we've studied Med Kellum, and he's becoming really an interesting figure. Also, issue that you really can't hide everything, but you have to dig pretty hard to get to this stuff.
I want to say that Cesar alone might take 6 years, but I think with a good research team and getting the people that he needs on board, I think we're talking like 2 years. I think we got to get it done. I don't know if I have 6 years for this. No, I'm serious. There's a lot of digging, but people know how to dig, put it together, give it to him, he writes it. Certainly volume 1 should be something we should accomplish pretty rapidly. Look at his face.
Well, let me just
the
be
first
very
10
clear.
years are nothing.
If you put me in a locked room with either a gun to my head or aluminum suitcase with unmarked 20s, I can get it done in 6 months. But I can't tell you if it's super accurate, and I like to be super accurate. And in my mind, we have employed 2 researchers that are helping us. So I've expanded the team, and there's a lot to look into. We have Elizabeth Ross, a Carnegie niece, but she's not really a niece. I mean, all these intricacies have to be really brought forth. The land issue, 3,000 acres of Marais. You don't go anywhere in the world and buy 3,000 acres without cracking some eggs. And that whole process has some great anecdotes. He may or may not have pressured a Chinese banker to sell him the land, even though he didn't want, by putting him on the ship and telling him, it's not just lunch, we're going to New Zealand, and raising the pressure. That's a story, but we have to now say, did it really happen? So going that far, yeah, I can tell it. Sure, I can tell it. But I am a stickler for detail.
The main points of the story don't require, I think, just getting it up there and getting it fleshed out later is a good idea.
It could be done as a screenplay. That's for sure. Idea. Yeah, no, it could be wrapped up now, but as a book form, no, it's a different story.